I don't care if I walk again, which blows some people's minds when I say that.
I'm a caring person, but I'm not Jade's carer.
And so I don't let their limiting view of disability kind of take root in me.
John and Jade Reynolds went viral after a social media video about their first date. In it, John had to carry Jade up the stairs because the lift at the cinema was inaccessible. At just 12 years old, due to a condition called transverse myelitis, Jade was left paralysed from the waist down due to spinal cord injury. She met John, a church pastor, and now together, as the parents of 2 children, they create comedy social media content together.
Thank you for joining us here today. And I'm really interested to know, you went viral for your content on controversy and things that you inappropriately asked in the street. And if we can start just with that, I know I've been injured for 23 years. I've been asked some of the most hilarious and horrendous things, everything from will I walk again? Am I faking? Can I have sex? I mean, you're nodding along. Tell us. What is the most controversial thing you've been asked, and how did you cope with it?
Yeah, I've had quite a mix of things. I've had the questions that you've just said. I get often when I'm just out, I could be in a supermarket and just someone will come up to me and they'll go, so what happened? What did you do? And obviously I forget I'm in a wheelchair because I've been in a wheelchair for 22 years now. So I don't even think about it. So it really kind of confuses me, and I'm like, sorry, have I done something? And it's almost quite accusatory sometimes.
It sounds like, because they'll be like, what have you done?
Yeah. And I'm like, what have I done?
Like in Sainsbury's,
what have you done?
Have I knocked the milk over or something behind
me? And then
me?
when I kind of look confused, they're like, you're in a wheelchair. Oh yeah, thanks for telling me that.
Forgot for a second.
And they want to know everything, and I'm just like, now I just go, I kind of like just go, oh well, you had an accident a few years ago, and kind of cut it short, because I just feel like it's really nosy.
It's intrusive.
And when I was younger, I would offer up a lot more information because I didn't want to be rude.
Yeah.
Whereas as I've gotten older, I just thought, I don't care.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm not going to tell you. But yeah,
I think
people do feel entitled to know your story.
Yeah.
And I think it's really odd, because if it was kind of, I was saying to John the other day, if you could see visibly, other traumas, so say you've just gone through a divorce, people would never dream of just coming up to you without knowing your name or anything and just going, oh, so you're divorced, what happened then?
Yeah.
Was it your fault or theirs? You'd just be like, what are you talking about?
It's this weird sense of entitlement that comes, isn't it?
Is.
That they feel like they're entitled to know your deepest trauma when you're just out trying to get your milk and your bread. Yeah.
But is that because, disabled, when you have a disability and you use a piece of mobility equipment, wheelchair, sticks, Zimmer frame, whatever it is, you feel like you become public property. And I know, so my responses over the years, and again, if I've been having a bit of a bad day, because despite what people think about disabled people, we're not just all jolly to be out. And someone will say to you, oh, what happened to you then? I was like, oh, please, let me tell you about the darkest days of my life and how I barely survived the aftermath of it.
Yeah, I think some of it is people, they want to break the ice, and I think people don't often know how to. So in the same way that, like, we've got friends who are like 6'7", and you can't go anywhere without people being like, what's the weather like up there, or like those kind of things. And I think people forget when it's your life, just you've heard every joke, and whether you make them at your expense or people are actually being rude and presuming that you'll be fine with it, you've heard it. We try and be kind and things, and try and be gentle, and it's easier on social media because you do have the opportunity to like pause your first thought and maybe bite your tongue or think about what you're actually going to say. Whereas I think for you, like being flustered out and about, especially when first of all you think they are accusing you of doing something wrong, like you don't really, it's much harder, I think, in person.
And I think I find it hard when it's as well, when someone will come up to you and they'll just go, it's really good to see you out and about. And I'm thinking, right, okay, what do you say to that? Thanks. I had to leave the house because I needed something. But it's like, oh, it's just so great. And they think they're being really encouraging. They don't realise how patronising it is. And I've gotten that quite a lot as well. Even when we moved up north and kind of in our new house, a few of the neighbours who are a bit older, because you often find in bungalows, you're usually your neighbours are older people. And you could tell they didn't mean any harm, but they were just like trying to say, oh, it's so great to see you living your life. And, I try not to take offence because I think they don't mean any harm by it. And I just try to be, oh, thank you. Yeah, I get out a lot. So I have
That's
to.
it.
I've
It's
got
hard
kids,
because
I've got...
people are like well-meaning and it's good intention, and they
Yes.
want to be. They don't necessarily know what to say, and I think this is the challenge with so many people who don't have people with disability in their world. They think they're trying to be down and they're trying to be inclusive, but actually sometimes it comes across as a bit like.
And I think that's the hard thing, isn't it? Like, we've found people either focus on it so much that it is like patronising, and it's like, oh, just is it impossible for you to do? And you're like, no, I crack on with my life. Or they almost just pretend that you're not disabled at all, and then that can have its own troubles and problems as well, where they don't necessarily think about disabled parking or ramps or whatever and things. And it's like, people will sometimes say on social media, you know, like, there's nothing wrong with your wife, like it's like wonderful and stuff, and you're like, well, don't tell Pip that, because
Can't lose the mobility.
and things. I'm like, no, there is. She's got a spinal cord injury, and what they mean is her value hasn't diminished.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Like, you're still just as wonderful as you were before, and your inherent worth is still there, regardless of what you've been through in life and things. But I think it's that. It's just sometimes I think it is the language, and we try to be gentle because we know what people mean with it. But again, it's just sometimes funny where you're like, yeah, that can also be offensive to say that because she's been through a lot.
Yeah. So how do you balance that? Because I was having a look at your TikTok, and there was a great one where you were clapping back at some of the comments.
Oh, yeah, you enjoyed
and I was
doing
like,
that.
yeah, go on, that was so good. But people see content, these short form bits, but we know, don't we, what it's like really living with spinal cord injury. There's a lot of stuff that you're not necessarily projecting, the bowel care routines and the bladder and all of the different things that might come with it.
Yeah.
So what's it like behind the content for you guys in the real world of spinal cord injury and parenthood?
Yeah, it's tough, but it's that weird thing where I'm so used to it now. So I almost don't realise how probably tough it is, because you just crack on, don't you? And you don't even think about it. And it's only when I stop and think, oh yeah, like it's weird. Like I am in a minority, I'm in a wheelchair, and there's all these other things that I'm managing in my life. And I'm trying to achieve the same things that other people are trying to achieve, but I've actually got a lot of hidden things that I'm managing behind the scenes, and giving myself a bit of slack sometimes, because I can get quite frustrated if my health's bad, or, you know, I had a pressure sore a few years ago and it was horrendous. And it's like not trying to get too frustrated that I can't achieve all the time what other people are doing, because I've got a lot more to contend with. And I think it's so hard to find the balance, because people will often say to me, oh, you're just so confident, you just crack on. You don't make disability look hard at all. And it's like, oh, I want to give that positive image of disability, but I also want to be real about, but it takes me so much longer to get ready in the mornings. Like, I'm always aware of, you know, pressure areas and, you know, relieving them. I'm thinking, how long have I been in the loo? And, oh, have I got catheters with me? And we've had a few nightmares where we went down to London and I just forgot my catheters. I had one with me. And I had to improvise, and you get very creative when you've got a disability. And I'm usually very organised, but I just had one of those days where I was in a bit of a fluster. Yeah. And it's like, people don't realise all the extra stuff that you are managing.
I think that adds to the energy deficit and stuff, because of the mental energy you're putting in. There are some things like you could forget your charger and you think, oh, well, I'll get another one when I'm down in London or something. It's only going to cost me a few quid for my phone or whatever. But I think there are certain things that if you forget, for, like in your situation, it can be
and
really
my mum was a
bad.
lifesaver with the catheter situation, because she said, right, get some Milton, you've got the catheter, you can sterilise it. You're only in London for a day, for 24 hours, so just be careful, and just go for it. So that's what I did. I wouldn't have even have thought of that.
Yeah.
So it worked. I didn't get a UTI, which I was really relieved about. But, you know, you have to think of these things. And so people don't realise. They just think, oh, you can't walk. And it's like, no, it's all the other stuff that you're managing to try and stay healthy.
Yeah. And it's such
That
a balance,
is
isn't
hard.
it, to project the positivity and to show how life can be so normal, but actually also letting them know that between these highlights there are these additional challenges that, you know, we have to use so much more energy and all of this sort of stuff, and trying to create that balance so people don't think that disability is just all highlight reels, that there is, like, you know, the day-to-day stuff that goes with it.
I'm interested with the how society reacts to the interabled relationship that you have, and you're talking then about all the challenges that your disability faces you on a day-to-day basis. But you, John, you're also living alongside these inconveniences, as people may portray. Do people just see you as as a carer, as you're doing absolutely everything?
Yeah,
you're living the life of luxury just because you're disabled and can't do anything.
Have a little bell that I ring when I want something.
John!
Yeah.
and what is the reality behind it?
Yeah, I think people on the one hand have really like almost deified me as like what a man,
what
like
a saint.
Yeah, definitely, like as if, and like we even
like I've won a prize or something. Oh,
yeah,
you lucky girl!
like
you managed to get him.
Yeah, like it was like you won me in a competition, like it was a charity auction or something.
If I'd won you in a competition.
Yeah, you wouldn't have bidded. But I think like
someone's got to get the booby prize at the end of the
year.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think like people, one of the things we try to talk about, we mention it a bit in our book, we mention it a bit on social media as well, is kind of the amount that I'm a caring person, but I'm not Jade's carer. And I think that there may come a day where, as you get older,
there's been seasons where you've cared for me when I had my pressure sore, and you were amazing, and you did have to step up and do
I had to learn how to do your intravenous antibiotics.
I had to have intravenous antibiotics because I had sepsis from a grade 4 pressure sore. It was not good, and you had to learn to do my IV antibiotics for 3 months, and I really wanted to go home, so they said, well, we can teach John. But I was scared for my life every day because I was like, make sure there's not a bubble in there. And
you've got to like flush it out with solution first.
Like a life insurance policy out.
Yeah.
And
so there have been moments, but again, I think I think the biggest thing for me was we knew each other a bit anyway. I knew how confident and comfortable you were with your disability, so I felt like we were both at a stage in our lives. We've been married 10 years together, 13, 12.
Yeah.
And I think we're both at a stage of being quite healthy in where we were at mentally and relationally, and so I felt like I was entering into the relationship for what I could give, not what I could get, and I felt you were the same. And I think that hasn't always been the case even in my life, where sometimes you've been like, oh, but they're great, they might complete me or whatever, and those kind of things, and you actually, when you look back, you think that probably wasn't the healthiest. And so I think because we started in that place, I felt, especially as time went on, kind of the additional needs you might have. And pretty much I would say most of our life is the things I do for you, you don't necessarily need me to. It would just take you longer if I didn't do them. So you could be pretty much independent. It would just take a lot more of a toll on you. And you'd have to manage your energy levels and everything else like that. Similarly with parenthood, really, and things. I think that I just think that there was just some things that were easier for me to do. And I think with the way that people react, so I found out about 3 years ago that I've got ADHD, and I think that's helped me understand and helped us relate to each other with kind of the highs and lows of energy levels and the dipping and things. It's very different kind of it can be debilitating at times, but I think at the same time it's helped me relate to you and you to me, because I think there's just as many times where you need to care for me, where I've hit a real low, or I've burnt out because I haven't managed my energy well, or
you've not organised something, or you've forgotten something and I've reminded you.
And so I think like in any relationship there's this myth that it's like needs to be 50-50, and I think like there's a speaker that we heard at one point that said it never is, like, and sometimes it doesn't even add up to 100. Sometimes like you're burnt out and the other person's on bed rest or whatever, and you're like, well, we're just both 20-20 at the moment, and there is a 60% deficit, and we'll just have to live with it. Friends, family, maybe help, or maybe we're just struggling at the moment. But I think it is. We were fortunate, I think, in being raised well, maybe, and our faith a little bit helps us think about always putting the other person first and always trying to do that, not neglecting your own needs, but just trying to be an others first kind of mentality. And I think because of that, we have found it's worked really nicely, I would say. Like, there are very rare moments where I feel like I totally misunderstand you, or you feel totally misunderstood. It happens.
And I love that you would say as well to people, when you were kind of thinking about getting into a relationship with me, you kind of had this thought where you were like, let's just see how hard it's going to be. But you said you thought that with every relationship, because there's this kind of like myth that, or being in a kind of interabled couple, that maybe you're going to have more problems or it's going to be harder. But every single relationship deals with other people's flaws, and you're going to have to compromise. Even if you're both able-bodied, like there'll be areas that you're going to have to compromise on, and you're going to wind each other up, or you're going to have shortcomings. And so I just think being in an interabled couple, and we never called ourselves that before social media. We just do it now because it helps people understand more as like a shorthand thing. But they're just the same as any other relationships, and it's just that where we're compromising or where we're helping each other might be in a slightly different area. But it's not any different.
You said once, I thought it was so good, people talk about having like mental strength, and actually can you remember exactly how you phrased it?
People often think, often people say to me, oh, you're so strong, Jade, or John, you're so strong with, living with Jade, or whatever they kind of think. And I remember saying to you, I know what you're going to say, I said, people think it's almost like by pure willpower, like, oh, I'm going to be strong, I'm not going to compromise, by pure will, I'm going to just be successful in life. And I was like, but it's actually what I've learned, it's about mental flexibility. That's what strength is. It's being able to adapt. Like the most successful people in life, they adapt to life's unexpected things that are thrown at you. And so, yes, I've adapted well to being in a wheelchair. I've been mentally flexible, and I've had to process that. It wasn't overnight, it's over a course of years where I've processed that. But it's about having that mental flexibility, and that's what is a strength, not I'm just a really strong person. I just had to face my situation head on and deal with it, and then come through the other side and go, okay, this is my life now, and things are different, but I've still got a lot of years ahead of me. I was only 12 when I became paralysed, so how am I going to still make this count, and how am I still going to enjoy my life, and what will that look like?
I'm definitely quite an emotional person, so at one point there was a bollard in a disabled spot. I reckon it was just because a van had put it there because they wanted to use it for loading at one point, and I was like, I don't care, like, and I remember just getting out the car and like just grabbing it and just lobbing it, just feeling like I'm so cross.
Yeah, it's like a cone, wasn't it?
Because and it's like people, it's the
you get angrier than me at times, like when we've been out and about and I wanted to try clothes on, and then they've used it as like a stock room, the actual disabled cubicle, and you've been like, well, take it all out now then. That you've been quite, whereas I'm getting there. As I get older, I'm more kind of like, no, that's not good enough.
Do you think that's enough. A man and a woman, a male and a female thing, like the masculine energy? Because my husband is he gets very protective and defensive. Like, because if I go to a shopping centre, I'll go in my chair, and he's like warrior stance.
I think it's also that things don't change, and I think like there's an element, particularly through doing social media, we'll have like children reach out to us and things, teenagers reach out, they've just gone through something, and how do you cope, and if Jade got any advice or whatever. And I think that's what I have in my mind is like, you go into Zara or wherever and things like, and if the disabled toilet in a restaurant, we've had that before, where a disabled toilet in a restaurant was someone's office.
There was an actual desk and
like,
computer.
Insane. But secondly, and they said to us, oh, we're really sorry, we just don't get many disabled people come here. It's like, because the last time they tried to come, they couldn't use the toilet. And so those kind of things, I think, it really boils my blood, particularly. It is on behalf of you as well, but I think on behalf of like people who are going through something where they are maybe feeling like, what's the point in my life anymore? Like, why am I even here? Like, can I even do this? And then they're met with that, and it makes them want to cry a bit, and it makes them want to smash people's heads in. And I'm very non-confrontational and a big people pleaser, but I think when it tips over, it does feel like that, like righteous anger, I guess. And so with that, I was like, it's the like the whole authority thing of like, you see someone in a high-vis jacket and you just assume they know what they're doing, and it was a bit like that with the traffic cone, where I was like, oh, maybe I can't, and I was like, no, hang on, look, anyone could have put that there. It could have been kids just messing around who were playing with it and just happened to leave it there, but I was like, there's nothing wrong with this space, and so I'm just going to move it. And I think having that element, but I also think humour can do that as well. I think like people, there was at one point there was quite a narrow pavement near us and scaffolding that was put up, and again, I don't know whether it's shouldn't have been put like that, or whether that was the only option. Looking at it, it maybe was the only option and things, but it's still wanting to highlight that. And so we did a very quick reel where I was just like, my wife always claims she's a better driver than me, focusing on me, and then I pan to her, which people always enjoy anyway because it subverts expectations, or they think, is it going to be some sexist like women drivers thing, and then they're like, oh, it's even worse than that, actually it's actually like more offensive. But there's the safety of thinking like, he's obviously not ableist because he's married to a woman in a wheelchair and things, but then it was you trying to get through it.
Yes.
But we also thought the nice thing about that kind of stuff is it's not us just having a whinge being like, why has this happened, or why are people not caring? It's through humour. But a lot of the comments were, that's so bad though, why have they not? And so it kind of highlights it whilst it also being light-hearted, which I think does open people up a little bit more. I know for me, if someone banters with me around something, like if you tease me a little bit, as long as it doesn't feel passive aggressive, but if you tease me about something that I probably could improve, I'm more likely to be a bit open around that, or if you're light-hearted around it, as opposed to if you're just really accusatory and angry.
Yeah.
And I think like there's never a case for that, but I think it can be used well.
Yeah. It's like when kids go for their jabs or whatever, and if they just see the jab coming, but if the doctor uses a bit of humour
Definitely.
and jokes, and then, you know, they kind of
Definitely
get to do what they
And
need
I think
to do.
humour disarms people as well, because I think people are often on edge around people with disabilities, and I always try to go in with a bit of banter, and they go, oh, okay, you can have a laugh with you. And almost trying to make people see that like it's inclusive to banter with people with disabilities. Well, I think so anyway. And actually, if you're bantering with everyone else and it's really awkward, you don't banter with me, that makes me feel like not part of things. So I always try to like use humour to be like, no, you know, obviously in an appropriate way, but if I'm kind of leading with the banter, that's a good cue for you to be like, yeah, you can joke and
exactly. And it also sets a tone, going back to what you were saying earlier, like, are there some days where you're just like, nah, no jokes today? And I think when you start with that, again, it shows people, okay, like this is fine, we can mention it, rather than it being like, how do I describe that person that I'm with without mentioning the very obvious, most easily described? Exactly. And things. And I think like sometimes I think one of the things we've really noticed is we do our best now to not be offended by people's terminology or anything like that, as long as it's not accusatory or just really intentionally.
Like
that's its intention, isn't it?
Exactly, because I think sometimes people can be like, well, it's still an ableist term or whatever. And I think the problem with being too quick to get offended is people then do worry so much about their terminology. I think it can actually isolate disabled people more, because people are like, I'd rather not say anything to them at all in case I say wheelchair bound or something that actually like, no, this is a mobility aid, I'm not bound to my wheelchair, I can get out. I get all of that 100%. And I think there's a healing process and stuff as well. If you've just become disabled or paralysed, it's all a lot more raw. But I think for you, I think you're so good at sometimes gently going, oh, by the way, but I think mostly just assuming the best of people, so that the relationship is still there and there's just some level of, I guess, safety for everybody.
Yeah, I want to build bridges with people rather than like, I don't know, make them feel awkward and kind of othered. So
it's giving people enough grace, isn't it, to say things, get things wrong. Because I find the same thing with race, and we're race intersects with disability as well. It's like we want to open up conversations and not shut them down. So okay, Uncle might have said something a bit awkward, but can we still continue the conversation without being so offended that it just stops everything in its tracks? Because I think everybody nowadays, especially on social media, everyone feels so polarised, everyone's so offended, it shuts down really important conversations.
100%. And I don't know how you found it racially, but we've found certainly with disability, a lot of the people that are offended aren't people with disability, or often even people who know anyone with it. Like often, like
and I remember we've had people say to you, "Don't call your wife disabled. She's differently abled." I hate that term. I absolutely hate that term. And so you've had to be like, well, actually, my wife would be really annoyed if I started saying she was differently abled, because she finds that patronising.
But thanks so much for explaining how I should refer to my own wife. Like we wouldn't have had those conversations anyway.
Yeah, and then we'll look at their profile, and they don't appear to have any disability, and you're like, why are you telling us how we should refer to each other? And
no,
it's like
exactly.
overstepping a little bit.
But this is why representation is why representation is so important, because we can have these conversations, we can be seen, we can set how we want to be referred to and how we want to be spoken about, because not everybody's the same. Different people will have different ideas, and it's like, well, in my case, I'm comfortable with this. So I think it's really great to have that representation and to allow ourselves to be seen.
Yeah, 100%.
For people who wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to engage, or to, if they don't have anyone who's disabled in their lives, you know, to be able to go to social media and get a sneak peek into the minds and the lives of, I think it's really great work that you're doing.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that humour, that dark humour, that especially when you're newly injured, when you're with your peers, and you the jokes would, you know, those would absolutely horrify those people who come up to say, oh, hang on, you can't say this. They would be petitioning outside. That humour is so important for that adjustment and that coping. I know personally that was something that was not only really important back in 2003, but it is to this day with the relationships I have with my friends, with my family. But when it oversteps into a member of the public, throwing that joke out there, it's instantly, hang on, you're not part of this club. You don't get to do that. And I'd love to see, I'd probably hate to see them as well, your DMs for that social media channel. They must get quite intense.
It's funny though, because you get a lot of the same stuff. So on a lot of our videos, particularly if it's around banter, we'll just get the same old stuff of, she needs to stand up for herself, you know, or she shouldn't let you push her around, or you know, and it's just so unoriginal.
Just anything that's wheelie, really.
Oh yeah.
Like those kind of things. And again, I think it is that we do get a few things, people just assuming. We had it sounds grander than it was. We got invited to a premiere for like a theatre thing, and there's basically photos on like a red carpet. The red carpet was literally just a square. Actually, it wasn't like a Hollywood one where you've got like massive, do you know what I mean, like Tom Holland walking down the red carpet or whatever. It was basically a photo in front of like the theatre thing, and we put that photo up, and I was just stood next to Jade, and someone was like, why aren't you hugging her? Like, why aren't you down on your knees next to her, hugging her? Like, and was just really like,
you need to get on her level. You're completely ignoring your wife, and everything you have is because of her. Now, I agree with that bit. But, you know.
It was just so strange where I was like, I understand, like, if someone gets headshots of us and stuff, like, then obviously, sure. Otherwise, you just see the top of Jade's head, or you just see like my midriff or whatever. That looks mad. Like, and sitting down together, fine. If it's just like shoulders and up, but this is like a full body shot. It would look wild if I was just on my knees, like for no reason.
Put our heads together. Oh, I would have hated it.
It's like, you're not going to do that. Like, I'm only 5'6". If I'm next to someone who's 6'6", I'm not expecting them to like kneel down. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit ridiculous. And so I think sometimes you just have to take things with a pinch of salt. And I think going back to like the banter, I think so much of it is about safety in relationships. Like, you know, if you feel safe, people could say anything. If you feel safe in a relationship, they could have racial banter, ageist banter, sexist banter, ableist banter, because you know it's ironic. You know that they're actually laughing at the people who do that stuff on face value. It's almost a mocking of ableism or sexism or anything else like that. And you feel safe in the relationship. But when it's outside of that, you don't know if they might actually be ableist or actually racist. And so it's a lot harder for us to feel, oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
People often are like, well, why do they get to say it? Like lazy, bigoted people usually. How come it's all right for them to say, well, because there's a safety there. Right? And things in the same way that it's like me and my brother can joke about my mum's like little quirks or whatever. But if one of our mates is like, yeah, your mum does do that, you're like, shut up, that's my mum.
You just see my mum.
And so like, I don't know, it's not rocket science for me. It's like when there's safety there, and that's why as a relationship builds, and that's why you'll often begin with a bit of banter and things so people feel that safety. So then people feel they can reciprocate in a respectful way. And I always
say as well, just follow like the disabled person's lead. Like you'll know very quickly, like if they need help, or you know what you can joke about, or just because we're all different. Like you said earlier, we're all different and we all react to things differently. And so it isn't rocket science. It's just going, you know, because people often go, oh, how should I start a conversation with someone with a disability? And you're like,
just like you would with anyone else.
Start with
you know, just exactly. Yeah. People really overthink it, and it's like, don't overthink it, you know, and if you can say to them, oh, if you need any help, just let me know. That's not offensive. You know, so it's, for me, it's pretty obvious, but people don't pick up on that sometimes. They're a bit like, oh no, like we've had someone when we were talking somewhere one time introduce me, and this is a very Christian term, but it's funny. So it was at a youth group, wasn't it? And I'd come in, I was just going to share like my story, try and encourage some of the youth, and the woman who was introducing me said, and this is a cheesy Christian phrase now, but you'll get what's funny about it.
It was completely unintentional.
Yeah, she went, and Jade Reynolds is here, and she's going to come up and share with us about her walk in her faith or something like that. And everyone,
she's going to talk all about her walk with Jesus.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, like so cheesy. Anyway, but then it was just
she was mortified.
She was like, she stopped
because she hadn't thought. It was just a cliche, basically, that she'd used, a bit like saying like "stand by your man" or that kind of cliche that
her
people
role
would
with
talk
Jesus.
About.
She really was like awkward, and then we just burst up laughing, and it was fine. But it was so funny because she was like,
there was
"Oh
that moment
no,
she was
I've
like,
used a phrase
of all the Christian cliches I could have used. Like, why did I use that one and things?" But again, I think we find again, like with those, I don't know how you guys find it, with those things that are just cliches, like the doctor will come in and you'll go into a doctor's and they'll be like, "Oh, take a seat," and then they'll go, "Oh," and most of the time there's that they're fine, but there are some people who just get super awkward, and it's like, I know it's a cliche. I know you're just saying it off the bat. Like,
I'm not literally going to then get out my chair just to take a seat. I'm not going to take it literally.
Yeah, and you're not going to be like, "How dare you not notice I was in a wheelchair?" Like, it's the same mentality, I think, when a waiter goes, "Enjoy your food," and you go, "Thanks, you too," and then you're like, "Ugh." Right, or happy birthday, you thanks you as well, because you think in your head they're going to go have a great day or something, and so you've already planned your response. It's just muscle memory, and I think people. Maybe some people do get very upset about it, but I think most people don't. I think
it's just permission to get it wrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like yesterday I had special passenger assistance from the train, and the guy was taking me, and he said, "Oh, the other day I offered someone a lift and they were really offended that I'd offered them some support. They went back and complained." And I'm like, just say no. You don't need the help.
Yeah.
Do you really
Those
need to
situations, you're
complain?
damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I mean, and I think this is where a lot of there are a lot of activists out there with disabilities who really just champion this independence. You know, the I am able, not disabled, all this sort of stuff. And it's like, well, actually, you're doing a lot of harm to those people who might be a little intimidated about asking for help. They might not be able to break the ice with that joke, and they'll be, "Oh, I'm going to struggle now because I've got no one to ask them," because the individual. I know I've had it in taxis where they've gone, "We can't help you at all."
Yeah.
It's like, but how am I going to get my chair in? It's like, you're going to have to put it in the boot. Oh, last person there, they put a complaint, and it's like, well,
I'm not going to, so can you help me?
Are you going to get me another taxi then? Someone who will help me?
Yeah.
It's like, you've just absolutely destroyed this journey, and now I've got to wait for another one. It's like, because again, it's that fear of, am I going to upset them? Am I going to get sued, especially in this day and age? And it's really difficult for general society.
And I think I know that when you do struggle in an area, sometimes you want to. Like, I've found this in any area. Like, with my ADHD, I can struggle a little bit with being quick to get angry. And so when you do struggle in that area, sometimes you really want to show everyone, "No, I like, I'm very calm most of the time, but it can just bubble over out of the blue." And sometimes then you're like, "No, I want to show people I am calm." Like, sometimes if I've had a outburst, I'm like, "Oh no, I want to show Jade that I am patient sometimes," or whatever. And I guess it's the same with disability sometimes, where you have areas that you struggle in and you want to show people or society or yourself or whatever, "No, I am strong, I can do this." But I think it's remembering that literally every person on the planet has weaknesses or struggles. Like it's like me saying, like, "Well, I need to be so I need to be so grateful that I'm not in a wheelchair. I need to walk everywhere and never sit down again," or whatever. And you're like, no, because like everyone has a threshold, and it's the same no matter what your ability is. And so I think those areas of like, if someone is offering help and things, people offer me help as well. Like, it might not be like getting onto a train or getting off a train and things, but I think most of the time you get it with elderly people when they're offered a seat or whatever, and they're like, "How old do you think I am?" or whatever, and you're like, "I'm just being kind." And things like, you might have had an uphill paper round and you're only 45, I don't know, but you look about 70, and I'm just being kind, like, and stuff like. And so like, I think it does make people in the end want to be like, "Well, fine, I won't then." But I think it's just so bad for society, so bad for disabled people, so bad for society at large, I think.
Yeah, I've always had that with when the amount of people come up to me, "Oh, it must be awful to be disabled," or "You're so brave, you're so this and that," and it's like, but every single person in the world has a disability. They stare in that mirror and there's something that they see that they're not happy with, whether it's anxiety, whether it's stress, whether it's a dodgy knee. They are still having that day-to-day struggle. So why I'm not so overly special just because I'm sat down. Actually, I don't feel anything from the chest down.
Yeah.
I don't have issues in my knees, and I've always got somewhere to sit.
Yeah.
I have lots of perks with this.
Yes.
But it is that one thing I've always found is that is how people approach that. And one thing that I know religion's been a big part of your life after injury. Religion was actually something that was a bit of a hindrance for me after my injury.
Yeah.
And that was because I was brought up, I was christened Catholic, I was brought up a Christian, went to CV school. But then breaking my back at 19 years old, and the amount of people who would say, oh, it's happened, there's all this purpose, this is part of God's plan. And I'm like, well, screw that guy. How can this ever be part of someone's plan? And then, to add to the frustration, the strangers coming up to me in the supermarket, putting a hand on my shoulder, can I pray for you?
Oh, yeah. Don't get started on that.
They say their prayers, and then they're looking at you, and they're like,
come on, man.
Thanks for that.
Throw away the chair,
like,
start skipping down the aisle.
Yeah, here's my benefits back, Don't need the car anymore, I'm off for
a run. Don't tell anyone.
You've actually ruined my life, thanks very much. That's something that I've always had a bit of a struggle with, because even to this day, people are because we are very much public prosecuted when they see a disabled person. How has it impacted you and me? Because you've been part of the church. Does that not add additional pressure to life after injury and recovery and miracles and all that stuff?
I think what I learned very quickly is that, so for me becoming paralysed wasn't a problem for me, because when you look at the world, like, bad things happen. And in the Bible, bad things happen. Nobody has a perfect life in the Bible. Often they have more traumatic lives than I could even imagine. So it makes my life look really easy. But what I found really interesting with people is when they don't understand something, they project onto it. So I find people project onto me their views and their ideas about disability. And because they perceive it as purely bad, they don't see the nuance in it. They don't see that actually now I would say, I don't care if I walk again, which blows some people's minds when I say that. But so much good has come from, over time, me being paralysed, and I've learned so much about myself, and there's just so much I could talk about. But I think when you don't have a disability, I think because you see it as purely bad, I think people think, particularly Christians as well with the prayer, they think they're being nice. Oh, I just want to, pray for you and make your life better. But actually, it's more their issue with not being able to come to terms with that bad things happen in life, because the Bible doesn't say that bad things won't happen to you. In fact, Jesus says, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. So God says you're going to struggle in life. Bad things are going to happen, but I'll be with you. And I felt that in my life. But I think there's a lot of Christians out there who don't really take those words to heart. And they just think, oh, I don't know how to cope with this really bad thing happening in life. So I'm just going to really, not very sensitively pray for you and then show you how disappointed I am when you don't just get up and walk. And I think it's a them problem. And I've received so much prayer in my life, bad prayer and good prayer. Some people have prayed for me when I've gone through really hard times, and I felt peace because of it. And so it's added to my life. But then I've had strangers pray for me where they've made me feel guilty because I haven't just gotten up and walked.
Responded.
And this miraculous act hasn't happened. So it's so interesting. But I would say people are interesting, and people's relationship with disability and trauma and bad things that happen in the world, they're complex. And so I don't let their limiting view of disability kind of take root in me. I reject that. And if I'd kind of accepted everybody's view of disability and what I could achieve and what the future would look like for me when I was 12 when this happened, I wouldn't have got married. I wouldn't have kids right now. I wouldn't have gone to London on my own, got a degree, because I was told you're probably not going to do all that. So I think that's a challenge for each one of us with our disability, is like not allowing other people, particularly when they don't have the disability, to project their negativity or of what our lives could look like.
And one thing you've been really good at as well is with regards to people praying, and in case there are people listening to this who either are Christians or have been hurt by church or are disabled and have been, got kind of, just frustrations with it. You said a really good thing, that there's parts of the Bible where Jesus will go up to somebody, that blind person, for instance, and go like, what can I do for you? And now if it's all true, that seems such a mad question, because you're like, well, what do you think, Jesus? Like, you're a miracle worker. This person's blind. Like, come on, Einstein, crack on. But I think you made the point before, like, he's a gentleman, and he
sees the person first.
Yeah, he sees the person before the disability. Like, you've been up for prayer in church before and things, and it's nothing. You don't want healing necessarily. You're just going for a bit of a tough time, or I'd really like prayer because I've got this thing coming up, and I hope it goes well. And so not assuming, like, if you do want to pray for people, firstly, I would say, ask them, like, is there anything I can pray about for you today? Because I think most people think, even if they're not Christian or whatever, oh, that was quite nice. If someone says, anything I can pray about for you, if you don't believe in God, you think, well, at least they wanted the best for me. And if you do, you think, oh, it might help. But saying, can I pray for your healing right now? I just think is so intrusive and presumptuous and unhelpful. Like, I think I personally, like, we've seen things, like, amazing things happen when people have prayed, but at the same time, I think it's rare. Like, I think if they happen at all, I think it's rare, because I think that's why they're called miracles. It's not happening all the time and stuff and things. And so, I think that people need to be a lot wiser and kinder and more like Jesus if they follow him with the way that they go about that stuff.
I would say your explanation on how it's sort of quoted in the Bible is, if someone had said to me that years ago, it'd been like, I understand why you're doing this for me now. It makes so much more sense. But I just think you just hit the nail on the head personally for me, is that what always frustrates me, I used to do a lot of collecting in supermarkets for my wheelchair basketball team, and you'd have these people, and you're trapped there. You're trying to be polite, you're collecting money, you're trapped there. If that person has said, what can I pray about for you? What is it that would benefit you? I probably would never have said, actually, I want to walk. It would have been, I want to raise as much money as I can for my wheelchair basketball team. Yeah. That would have been completely different. But it is that forced assumption that my life is horrible because I'm sat in a wheelchair. They don't know anything about why I'm sat in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
They don't. And I think something you said earlier as well, that what always shocks people, I do lots of presentations where I will sit in front of hundreds of people and say, I don't care if I don't walk again. I love my life. I'm still double incontinent. I've still got all these complications, but I've got the most amazing and fantastic life. That really freaks people out sometimes. And again, I don't think they can necessarily get their head around
It's the
it.
ableist lens, though, isn't it? It's like everybody's so obsessed with walking being the factor. I'm mindful that this is going out, but there's somebody who I always see who every time I see them, oh, you're walking better. And I'm like, some days I will be, some days I won't. Can you stop every time I come out my house saying that I'm walking? Like, it's just this obsession with walking, but it's because for them, they can't see beyond that. For them, that's the worst possible thing that they can imagine. Yeah. And they don't realise, like a lot of people with spinal cord injury, it's not just walking. Yeah. There's so many other factors that we're dealing with every day, and perhaps walking isn't the biggest thing.
Definitely.
But I think that's because in our culture, I think health is an idol to people. They think you can't live a fulfilling life if you're not completely healthy, which is a lie. Yeah. Like, there's loads of people who aren't 100% healthy who are living an amazing life, but it is so highly prized in our culture, and I think that's what's hard.
Yeah, definitely. And I think at the heart of that is probably, oh, great, like, I hope you're feeling healthier, or I hope your health is doing well. But again, I think it's just nicer to say to people, like, how are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
and again, it's the intention, and you're like, bless you for wanting to encourage me in the best way that you can, but I'm in so much pain, so I might be walking better today. But
it's the equivalent, I think, of the like toxic positivity and self-help stuff, where, like, and I know why people mean it, but it's like the jumpers people have, it's like, a person behind you, I'm so proud of you right now.
Oh yeah.
Well, how do you know? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? How do you know? I could have just killed 3 people in cold blood. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it depends. Like, I really wanted, at one point, it didn't do very well, but I did a video where it was like looking at my phone, and it was that kind of thing of like, so proud of how hard you're trying right now. Because I'd seen that exact thing, and then it like just cut to me just like sat there in my pants, like eating hula hoops, like just watching TV. It's like, I'm like, you don't know, and things. And so I think it's the same with that, of like the assumption that if it does feel like your walking is more fluid or strong, whatever, you must be doing better.
Yeah.
And it's like, not necessarily, and stuff
Things
like...
can run parallel, can't
Yeah,
they?
exactly.
You can be having these simultaneous experiences where, yes, you might be walking better or presenting better, but actually you're also having a really hard time because this is going on, and it's allowing space for all of it to exist.
Definitely. And so, like, asking people, I don't know how I don't want to assume, but like, I think, like, similar to the what can I pray about for you, similar, like saying, like, how are you doing at the moment, like, and things, or is there anything you need, rather than grabbing someone and helping them.
Assuming.
That kind of...
Yeah,
but this is
those
another
assumptions
thing.
are always frustrate me.
Yeah. 'Cause I used to work for a homeless families charity, and you've always got people projecting their idea of what homeless people need. So they think, this is what they need, this is what I think I would need, but actually no, it's not that. If you speak to them directly, they'll be able to let you know, and then you can be a more effective helper because you're asking them rather than assuming from your perspective what you think that people need all the time.
So good.
Just to bring things to a close, because it's kind of coming to that time anyway, if you could say one thing to each other, something maybe that you don't say enough, what would it be?
I think it is, and I think I probably said it more early on, but because I think, again, you hear the phrases of like, disabled people aren't inspiration porn, and do you know what I mean, those kind of things where it's like, oh wow, like, because again, it's based on assumptions. But I think as someone who sees all you go through, I think it is an element of like how proud I am of you, but I think also how much you do encourage and like inspire me in terms of just, I'm definitely someone, because I am an external processor and I'm led by my emotions. If I feel something, I just find it so hard to like hide and stuff. And there's a positive to that too, but I think also I can spiral with those like negative things. Like, I know that if I'd gone through what you'd gone through, I genuinely think it would have taken me a lot longer to come out the other side, and things. I think I would have spiraled a lot quicker, even if I'd had my faith at the time and things. I think I'd have been looking at the people in the Bible that didn't go through as much and been like, what about them? What about all those blessings? Whereas you were straight to the people who are like, gosh, I'm glad that didn't happen to me, and I'm glad that didn't, and they don't seem to have a problem with their faith and things. And so I think it is your positivity amidst it all, I think, and just your realism. I think I admire the way that you don't move too far either way. Like, you don't hide when you're struggling, but you also, and pretend everything's okay, but you also don't wallow. And I think that's something that I feel like I do one or the other. I feel like when I'm struggling, I'm like either wallowing or being like, I'm fine. I'm not like real with how I'm doing. I think you're really good at that.
Oh, thank you. I'd say for you, just, and I think a lot of people who live with someone with a disability could like hear this as well, but just thank you for championing me and other people with disabilities, and even just all the small things you do that, you know, you don't get thanks for. Like, I notice and I appreciate, and it makes a difference to me, but I think it also makes a difference to like other people who are in similar situations to us. And so yeah, just being that thoughtful person, being that supportive person. I'm not very ambitious, but John's the ambitious one, but you will always push me to go that little bit further because you see the potential in me. And so I think everybody needs a person like you in their life to kind of push them. And you don't do things for me, you don't make it easy. You'll go, no, you can do it, or try doing this, but I need that in my life. I need someone to kind of not just take the reins and go, oh, I'll do it for you, but you're supporting me for me to be able to do it. And there's a difference in that. And so I think a lot of people who live with someone with a disability will be able to relate to that and need to hear like, we see you, thank you. Like, it's not often talked about, or like the obvious things are talked about, but it's all the small things behind the scenes that people don't see, that I feel very blessed to have you. And yeah, thank you.
No, thanks. It's nice. Such a nice ending question.
Yeah. I feel like we've gone to couples therapy.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Didn't Plan on This. If so, please like, comment and share.
If you or someone you know is living with a spinal cord injury and they need support, the Spinal Injuries Association is here for you. Our vision is a fulfilled life for everyone living with spinal cord injury. If you'd like to support us or find out more about the vital work that we do across the UK, please visit our website at spinal.co.uk.